You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt.
Welcome back On Air with Chris Shanafelt, and it's a pleasure to welcome onto the show. He is the first player on the defensive side of the ball to ever win the Jerry Rice Award given to the top freshman in all of the FCS. He's also the reigning Big South Defensive Player of the Year, and last week was named to the Buck Buchanan Award watch list out of Kennesaw State University. He's linebacker Bryson Armstrong, and Bryson, really appreciate you taking some time to chat. I know you're fresh out of practice. How's everything going heading into your redshirt sophomore season?
It's going good. We get a good start to camp here, and we're looking forward to getting better every day. We've had decent practice today, and we're looking forward to that first game.
Now, Bryson, looking back with the success that you had individually, I mean, just looking at your stat sheet, looking back at some of your highlights from a year ago, 114 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 3 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, 4 recovered fumbles, and a blocked kick. I mean, you're literally everywhere on the field, and that's kind of what's asked out of you, playing the linebacker position. And as I said, those efforts a year ago helped you be rewarded as the conference's Defensive Player of the Year, and of course you won the Jerry Rice Award as well. And it doesn't stop there. You guys as a team, the Kennesaw State Owls, you won the Big South, and it seemed like despite finishing in dominating fashion, 10-1 regular season, it kind of seemed like you guys were still an underdog heading into the FCS playoffs. Nonetheless, the Owls made a deep run, defeating Samford, Jacksonville State before falling to Sam Houston State in the quarterfinals. Now, obviously, Bryson, you would have loved to have finished the season hoisting the FCS National Championship trophy, but if you could, how would you put last season into words?
Oh gosh, it was definitely a season I'll never forget. There were just so many memorable moments throughout the season. One of them, like you said, getting the first conference championship in the history of our program, and then beating Jacksonville State when no one thought we could do it, and making it to the quarterfinals, and even going up to Montana and playing in the freezing weather and pulling that one off late in the game, getting the victory. There were just so many moments like that. It just made it a season I'll never forget.
Well, and you mentioned it. I mean, first conference championship there at Kennesaw State. Last season was only the third season in the football program's existence. Still a relatively new football program. Bryson, you arrived in the program's second year of existence. You redshirted your first year there. Obviously, we talked a little bit about what you were able to do in your first year suiting up for the Owls last year. But what were you able to take away from your very first year at KSU and during that redshirt year? And were there any players that kind of took you under their wing?
Yeah, there were so many things I learned in that first year I redshirted. The main thing, just learning how fast the defense plays. We're a defense that we try not to loaf around, and we give everything we got. So just the speed of the defense, and then showing up here and having already played with Taylor Hinkle in high school, that helped. Knowing him and already being good friends with him, but really everyone helped when I first got here to get me used to the defense, and just like how I do now with the young guys, I try to be a good example and get them started up.
Are you able to kind of track down one play that you made from a year ago? I mean, when thinking back to your first year suiting up for the Owls, 10, 15 years down the road, Bryson, what would be that first year that kind of pops into your mind?
Honestly, the first play I remember, it's actually not a play that I made, but when Taylor Hinkle picked off Montana State's quarterback in late game when they were driving on us the last couple of minutes to end the game. That was probably the most memorable play I could think of. I don't know about one that I made.
Hey, well, obviously you're a team player, and it shows obviously with that answer and with what you're able to do on the football field. And kind of sticking with your teammates, Bryson. I mean, last year you guys had one of the top linebacking corps in the nation, which of course, including yourself, as well as a fellow all-conference linebacker in Anthony Gore Jr. who will be returning, but Sam Izzy will not be returning as he was a senior last year. Just talk about how big of a loss that is for the defense and who we can kind of try to expect to step up in that position. Not really looking for the next Sam Izzy. Obviously, that will be a tough player to replace, but who can we expect to step up?
Yes, sir. Well, Izzy was a great player. And he's the type of guy that we're gonna miss him on the field, but also off the field. He was a guy he was a good guy to have on your team, and he'll be missed. But we have a few guys trying out for that new Mike linebacker spot, and I've got faith in every single one of them.
Absolutely. Sounds like there's going to be a competition there within the linebackers. Bryson, how would you describe your experience with the KSU coaching staff, specifically the man in charge, head coach Brian Bohannon, defensive coordinator Brian Newberry, and linebacker coach P.J. Volker? I mean, how have they kind of helped shape you into the All-American linebacker you are today?
Well, they're all great coaches. They coach with a lot of passion. I can't say enough good things about them, and I'm just truly thankful to have them as my coaches. And I'm truly blessed. They're wonderful people and they're great coaches.
And this morning, kind of getting ready, preparing for this interview, Bryson, watching some of your highlights, it brought me back to a few years back when I would just watch NFL highlights before I had this gig I have now, and just enjoyed watching some defensive football being played. I'm actually out of Chicago, so growing up a Bears fan, defense was always number one. The Bears have a rich linebacking tradition. I mean, who are some pro linebackers that you enjoy watching in your free time? I'm not sure if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. I know they have a really good one right now in Deion Jones, a young, fast, up-and-coming linebacker. Of course, last week we had two greats, Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher, inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Who do you like watching in your free time at the linebacker position?
Well, I'm actually a big Dolphins fan. I always grew up watching them play, and the first linebacker I can think of that I remember watching was Zach Thomas. I had his jersey and everything, and he was definitely one of my favorite. But there's so many new guys out now that are incredible athletes and fun to watch. But Zach Thomas is probably going to be my all-time favorite.
Hey, and talk about longevity with Zach Thomas. He'll probably be hearing be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame sometime soon as well. Again, we're chatting with Bryson Armstrong, the linebacker you need to know if you're not familiar with already, reigning Jerry Rice Award winner, as well as a Big South Defensive Player of the Year. He's on the Buck Buchanan Award watch list. Again, Bryson Armstrong, linebacker out of Kennesaw State. And looking ahead to this season, Bryson, I mean, we're only a few weeks away from the season opener at Georgia State. What has the offseason consisted of for you? And was there a certain aspect, a specific part of your game that you tried to focus on improving?
Not a specific element to my game. There's so many things that I could work on. And so just trying to get better at the little things, and I'd say just improve overall as a football player. Not anything specific, but yeah, there's just I'm not perfect. There are several elements of my game that could use some work.
Well, obviously, you probably wouldn't say it, Bryson, but I think most in the country would say you're the face of this defense at Kennesaw State, and you guys have a very high-powered offense as well, led by dual-threat quarterback Chandler Burks. How does going up against an offense led by that top-notch signal caller like Burks, one of the best in the country, better the defense and better yourself as a linebacker come game day?
Yeah, well, Burks, he's a great leader. I'd say he definitely helps our defense. He's a quick guy, so it's important when you're going after him, you take a great pursuit angle, or else he'll get by you. He's also a very savvy player, and so I think he helps our secondary out a lot of times. The way he'll look you off and whatnot. So he's a great leader, and he definitely helps out our defense.
And looking at your guys' schedule, Bryce, and looking at the conference you play in, I mean, it really does seem like the Big South Conference seems to be getting better year after year. It's really tough across all the board, and even when you look at the non-conference opponents you guys got this season, I mean, I know you certainly don't want to overlook any opponents, and you're focused on that August 30th game at Georgia State. But I got to ask you, I'm wondering, is there a certain game you have marked on your calendar? Because I know for a fact, talking to some players around the nation, I know for a fact Samford, for one, and Jacksonville State, for two. They got to be looking forward to seeing you guys again as the Owls knocked them out of the playoffs just less than a year ago.
Yes, sir. They played us. Those were two great games last year, and I'm sure there'll be a couple more great games this year. But I'm not really circled any game on the calendar besides Georgia State. That's the first game to play, and so we're just looking forward to that one. But I'm sure the two teams you mentioned, Jacksonville State and Stanford, will be great games and also fun for the fans as well.
Right. And of course, last year you guys opened up the season against Samford, dropped that first game, went on to win 10 straight, and then you were able to knock them out in the first round of the FCS playoffs. So, now it's Samford coming into this season with a little bit of bad blood left in their mouth. Couple more questions for Bryson Armstrong, linebacker of Kennesaw State University. Couple more questions for you, Bryson, then we'll let you go. What are your expectations for the upcoming season? What do you guys need to improve on in order to make an even deeper run into the FCS playoffs this year? And how do you even begin to start off by topping off what you were able to do individually last year? I mean, like you said, of course, there's always room for improvement. But I mean, to have the type of season you had last year and to repeat that this year, I gotta think you would you would be a-okay with that. Am I wrong?
Yes, sir. Well, there's one thing we play with, and that's EAT, and it stands for effort, attitude, and toughness. So I think as long as we keep that on the field, we should be fine for this next year. Just always playing with effort, attitude, and toughness.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. EAT. Effort, attitude, and toughness. Final question, Bryson.
That's right.
What's the feeling like around campus? I mean, again, this is still a relatively new football program. I got to think the way you guys had the success that you did last year really had a positive energy around the campus. What's the feeling like around campus heading into this year, your redshirt sophomore year? Are the students and citizens of Kennesaw, Georgia really pumped and excited about what's in store for the football program?
Oh yeah, we haven't started up school, but we definitely have an awesome fan base here in Kennesaw. They're great. They're always we have great support. They're always cheering us on. But they're also, I can't say enough about them. I think from the success we had last year and all the things we did and all, I think they'll be even more pumped for this next year. So we're really looking forward to that.
Hey, he's the reigning Jerry Rice Award winner given to the top freshman in FCS football, linebacker Bryson Armstrong of the Kennesaw State Owls, and reigning Big South Defensive Player of the Year. Reigning Big South champs, the Owls are looking to repeat and do even more in the FCS playoffs this upcoming season. It all starts August 30th at Georgia State. And Bryson, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much to Andrew Clausen over there and yourself for carving out some time for me, and wishing you all the best. Really looking forward to seeing the Owls do some work this season.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.